You stupid bitch. Yeah, you're a stupid bitch. You stupid bitch. But anyway, how are you, stupid bitch? Welcome to this week's episode of, what is it? StupidBSayWhat? Episode 101.
Episode 101. Is it
Yeah,
really?
yes.
So we didn't do anything
No,
big bang for our 100th.
we're recording our 100th the Friday before it releases.
Oh, right. And we still haven't decided what we're doing. Oh,
We
fuck.
still need to figure out a whole heap of shit. We have not next week, but the week after. We've got Vinny's birthday.
Yeah, true.
Kate will be there too, Kate Chester.
Oh my God, no way.
Yeah. So her and Sean are coming over. Um,
Oh, I
so we're
saw
gonna.
her on the invite and I wasn't sure if it was just a token invite or because she might have been here or something. But
No, they're I'm not sure why they're here. I think she just really wanted to get over. Can't
Mm.
remember. But so we're going to meet up with them quickly beforehand at Felons and then just have everyone join us there. And yeah, it'd be so good to see. And then we can catch up about the podcast at Vinny's birthday. We'll just do a poll around everyone. Hey guys, so what do you think's about Vinny will fucking kill us?
He would totally kill us. Don't tell him that.
Yeah, oh, you can hear me. So we've got a couple of weeks to figure it out, but we've got Vinny's birthday to really nut it down. But yeah, episode 101, True Crime, please. Stupid bitches say what?
Stupid bitches say what?
An Aussie podcast that's
About
about what, Skye?
everything and nothing, but
Nothing.
always with wine.
It is. And stupid bitch host, Skyly Collett.
Yes. And Sean Bino Hipkins, please.
Hi. So yes, back on our true crime bandwagon today. But first of all, do I ask you first? Does it matter who asks first about what you're drinking? I know I'm going first.
I think you ask me first when it's your turn.
What are you drinking, Skye?
Never thought you'd ask, Sean Bino. I'm drinking a red, well-deserved red, I think, this week. So just got the one bottle at Liquorland. Thought about getting two, but thought, oh no, I'm in an all-day training thing tomorrow. So
and I will drink both tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Can't be dragging myself into that. So I'm drinking something called the Crafty Punter.
Oh.
It's a Clare Valley Cab Sav 2022, made by the Pike family. And look, it's got a little nay on it.
Oh, a horseman.
Yeah, a little horseman. Oh, you can't really see it.
Half man, half horse.
Half man, half horse, if you will.
I wonder if it's...
He's wearing a suit, but it could almost be pajamas if he didn't have the little bow tie right
and the walking stick.
Yeah, and I think he's smoking something.
Well,
anywho,
smoking.
It's quite lovely. His name's Edgar.
Edgar. And what type of red is it again?
Cab Sav, please.
Cab Sav, good choice.
Yeah, and it's lovely, and it's tasting absolutely delicious. It's tasting like one bottle isn't going to be enough.
It's tasting like it needs more.
I don't have a choice in that one.
Kim said to me when I was saying, "Oh, podcaster tonight," and she goes, "Oh my God, are you going to come in hungover tomorrow?" I was like, "Darling, I just have one glass. I'm not an animal."
I'll bottle, but I'll be fine. And what are you drinking, stupid bitch? Enlighten us. Oh, a little bit of white, a little bit of bubbles, it looks like.
It's not bubbles, no.
Light on white.
It's a dirty, rotten Riesling from the Clare Valley.
Ooh.
So I got this, and I think I must have got it as one of my bonus bottles through Good Pear Days. And so I picked it out the other night because I made a risotto. You know, he put some dry white wine. I thought, I think I'm not going to waste a Savvy B on a risotto. I'll just use this Riesling. And I thought, actually, I think I can drink it during the podcast. And can I tell you, I've made a terrible mistake.
Have you? Because it's horrible. I'm taking that off. I'm sorry. I just decided.
That's okay. Yeah. Oh, it's got a bit.
Is it sweet? Is it really super sweet?
It's sweet. It's not super sweet. It's
kind of. Rieslings are super sweet.
I'm going to drink the whole fucking glass just in the tasting. It's delicious. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to describe the taste. What does it say on here?
Riesling
it's drop zone. Drop
Drop
zone
zone.
Riesling. There's a cross on it.
Lovely.
Crisscross will make you jump.
Jump. I need to my double chin's showing up horrendously in this shot. I really need to do something about it. Look, I'm really jowly tonight. Look at this.
It's not as bad as you think, darling. You know the saying goes, X marks the spot.
Yeah,
Packed
heard that one.
inside is a Riesling from Clare Valley that has been, I can't fucking read this shit. Anyway, it tastes different to what I'm used to. And would I get it again? Definitely not. It's getting better as we go.
I started my wine journey on the old Riesling. / passion pop. I used to drink passion pop as well, but you can't really. Passion pop's not really a white wine; it's a bubbles, very cheap bubbles.
Yeah.
But remember the old Brown Brothers Cruchon Riesling? Used to be the really tall, sort of skinny bottle. Brown Brothers.
They've gone like that. That must be a Riesling thing. They must have the long, tall, slender.
Yeah, that's how the Cruchon was, and it was lovely. Me and our dear friend Poodle used to go halves in a bottle and go to dinner.
Do you want to go halves? Yeah, let's be sensible. Oh, I can't drink more than 2 glasses. Said me back in the day.
Such immaturity at 18.
I know. Pack of losers. How's your week been, Stupid B?
It has been good. Couple of things to talk about this evening. When I was chatting last week, I was talking about some of the books that I was reading, and I was in the middle of a book called Funny Story, which is a bit of a romancy one by Emily Henry. It was a good book.
Not so funny then, hey?
No, it was. It had some okay part. I didn't laugh out loud, but it had some amusing bits. And it was good. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, but it went on a little bit longer than what I thought it was necessary.
Right.
I did think the sex scenes were a tiny bit off. I wouldn't say awkward, just not very well written. And people will probably dispute me on that if they've read it, but I've read better.
Well, look, everyone's allowed their own opinions, aren't they?
Yeah.
And yours is the only one that matters when it comes to books on this podcast.
That's right. So I finished that at the beginning of the week. And then I have done something for the first time this year that's made me very, very sad, which is had to DNF 2 books just this week.
Oh, did not finish.
Yeah. So I started one of the books that's huge on Book Talk at the moment. And I see people comment all the time, I shouldn't read a book based on a Book Talk, a TikTok recommendation, because the hype is usually bullshit most of the time.
Yeah.
And I've read a few ones that have become famous on Book Talk, and they've been okay. Emily Henry, that funny story one was one of those. And I've read a bunch, and sometimes they're okay. I've never really read a brilliant one, but this one was absolutely fucking terrible. It was so bad. The writing was so bad. And I was talking to people about it at a party that I was at on the weekend, and everyone was saying, oh my God, I can't wait to read it. Everyone's saying it's the best book ever. And I'm literally like, I got to chapter 8 and I'm like, who wants it? Take it off my hands. I'm going to give it away. I don't want it. So then I was a bit disappointed.
Explain what was happening that you were just like in the story.
Okay. So it's based in London. They're 2 rich people. So there's this rich girl. She's like, her family's, she's probably, I think, mid or late 20s.
Right.
Her family is a billionaires. Every chapter is like talks about how her dad's a big music producer, and they're dropping actual names of actual real celebrities. So they talk about the Kardashians, and they talk about like all really modern, relevant. Who's the one? Not, I was going to say Chris Brown. Who's the one?
Guy or?
Oh, heaps of them. Like, it's just constant name drops of like the dad's a producer. So there's situations where they're in situations where the celebrities are sort of off to the side in the same club and stuff like that, which is
Jason
weird in itself. No, but the other one. Who's the other one? Who?
Drake.
Drake's in it.
Yeah.
And he's not in it, but they talk about him as if he's, one of the, like
characters
in a club or something. There. And then the other thing about it is, every time a character comes into the scene, she describes the outfit that they're wearing, and it could be Gucci or it could be Tommy Hill. I don't think it was ever Tommy Hilfiger, but it's all brand names, like really expensive designers. And half the designers, I didn't even know what they were. But then she goes and describes it in massive detail, like they're wearing like a silk shirt, and then there's like a tie, and then they've got a jacket and cufflinks from blah, 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 blah. And it just goes in like paragraphs of explanation about the designer clothes. And I'm like, Number one, it's not my thing. I'm not really into
Yeah.
designer stuff, but also too dumb.
Yeah, if it was a red carpet interview on television, I get it, but in a book,
and they're
or if
talking about how much money they have and all, like, they're just really spoiled. And I think that was supposed to be the way it was, but it was just super pretentious and super knobby. And I was like, I want to kill myself if I read anymore.
yeah.
And then, so if you want it, it's yours. I'm giving it away for free.
Well, look, you have hyped it up.
And then Tyler picked another book off my massive stack, and the reason I brought it was because I read a recommendation. It was supposed to be a mixture between Gilmore Girls and Practical Magic. So you can imagine
Your delight in
my
seeing that
delight
review.
going, yes, yes. And this is the second time I've purchased a book because someone has recommended it as a cross between Practical Magic and Gilmore Girls. And the first one was fucking bullshit, and I gave it 1.5 stars. And this one, I didn't even get 8 chapters in. I got to the point where just reading a paragraph was such a challenge because it was so fucking boring that I went, I can't do this. I said to Tyler this morning, I'm not reading this second book. And he's like, oh my God, you never do that. What's wrong with you? I'm like, it's not me, it's the books.
Yeah, and stop picking shit ones from my stack.
So he picked another one, which is a sequel to one that I finished the other week. So I'm quite happy about that. But
Okay,
I'm really disappointed because I would have had 2 books by now on my list of books I've read.
Look, if it's any consolation, you're winning the race against me at the moment.
Was there ever any doubt?
No.
And then just quickly, 42 Days to Bali, plus. Did a bit of Christmas shopping this week on Temu.
Oh, very good.
Got a big fat Temu.
Did you get your wheels spinning and shop on this page for 10 minutes?
I do, but it stresses me out. And then when you go to check it out, it's weird. Like, it says you get all this free stuff, and then you got to check it out. It's a full price.
Yeah.
I don't really know what's happening.
Yeah.
And then what else was I going to talk about? I've made myself some notes. We're also booking Fiji for the beginning of next year before footy season starts. I was going to say, pull your finger out and you guys should come.
We won't have the leave by then.
Oh,
we were thinking Fiji, but...
And then we're going to do Hawaii at the end of next year.
Oh, wow. Cool. That could be good. We were thinking hopefully trying to maybe get into Bali around April next year. April, May.
Do Hawaii with us instead.
In April.
Because we're not going to do Bali again because we're doing Bali. Anywho, and then lastly, watched a couple of movies on Friday night. We paid for the rental of Imaginary Friend. You know, the one with Ryan Reynolds and all the characters. Have you seen it?
No.
So I was really excited to see it, and I really wanted to see it at the cinema when I saw it come out because I love Steve Carell and I love John Krasinski, the guy out of The Office. Well, they're both out of The Office. And we paid, it was only like $5 as a rental. Tyler absolutely loved it, thought it was excellent, and I didn't really rate it.
Oh, it's interesting because I think my brother Lee watched it and said he loved it. He thought it was quite the surprise for him.
It was all over the place. It wasn't really matching up, and you would just kind of, and I thought the kid in it was a bit strange as well.
Ick.
So yeah, didn't
rate
it.
Okay, what else?
So and then we watched How to Be Single, which I think I messaged you about because we kept seeing the thing in Facebook where she's like, and she gets into the cab and she's like, take me home, driver, take me home.
That's
and he turns around and he's like, bitch, I don't know where you live.
I thought it was 50 Shades at first, but it's How to Be Single.
And it's the chick out of 50 Shades.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we put it on, and Tyler said, he finally like listened to me because I was like, can we just watch this movie? So we put it, because we watched If first. So we put it on. And it's got Rebel Wilson in it.
Yes.
And it was fucking hilarious. At one point she made a joke and Tyler spit his beer across the room. He laughed so hard. And I tell you what, it was back when Rebel Wilson used to be funny.
Yeah.
Before, she's outing everyone for all this shit and writing all her memoirs and stuff and taking people to court.
But when she took that person to court, her fee was like
It was the
what she wanted.
magazines she took to court, wasn't
Yeah,
it? The
but
defamation character.
yes, but it wasn't. She
Defamation of
didn't do
character.
it for money. She only wanted. She asked for 5 cents or
Oh
ten
yeah, I
bucks or
know.
something. Yeah,
But I haven't seen anything of her that's been good in a very, very long time that
yeah.
I've actually gone, oh, this is funny, but this was fucking hilarious. Her jokes in it was hilarious. And I had watched it when it came out of the cinema, and I remember watching it going, that was okay. But Tyler was wetting himself as much as I was, and he's like, babe, that was really fucking good for a chick flick. And I was like, yeah, it was.
Listen to me more, please.
So rewatch it.
Okay, yeah, I think I've seen it. I can't recall.
It was on Fox. We just got it on Fox. I'm pretty sure it was on Fox.
Okay.
But that's it from me. How's your week been, stupid bitch? You
Well,
silly pig.
the silly pigs week has been pretty good, please. I also have some things to talk about, mainly TV shows. So
I'm so excited. Give it to me.
all over the face. So the first show I want to talk about, which Vinny and I smashed over the weekend, was Monster, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story.
Do you know what? The moment it came up as starting to be the suggested thing, I was like, oh my God, the boys are going to fucking be like coming home from work and going, let's put it on. And I knew that you would binge it. And you know, it's getting a really bad rap too about like, I think the things that everyone's saying is that it's a lot of bullshit, but it's Ryan Murphy. Like, he's taking creative license. That's what he does. He creates a story out of it.
There's so much of it that is super true. And then there's bits. And the thing that they're saying is bullshit, I think, because it does is that the guy, Nathan Lane's in it. He plays this guy who worked for
Nathan Lane.
He plays this character that worked for Vanity Fair, this real person. And you know who and this was really interesting. So he talks about this murder case that he was involved in, and he's really bitter about the defense lawyers for Eric and Lyle trying to get them off for murder, because his daughter got murdered, and the person who did it didn't get charged with murder. It became manslaughter. And so he's venomous about it because of that. And he works for Vanity Fair, does big shit in Vanity Fair. And you find out, like, a couple of episodes after you find out that his daughter died, who his daughter was. And it was the girl in in Poltergeist 1. You know how the oldest daughter got murdered by her boyfriend after the movie?
Right. I thought you meant the little girl that died of the appendix.
No.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So it was him, and sort of obviously he plays that person. And I was like, oh, fuck me, I never realized her dad was this big dude in Vanity Fair. And when you hear the case that's attached to that too, you can understand why he's fucking furious and why the guy got off. He strangled. Oh, okay. Well, I won't say anything else. That's a good idea. I should do it. Let me make a note. TC topic.
But Tyler when he saw it, he's like, I really want to watch that. And I was like, well, I don't know if it's for me, even though I love Ryan Murphy.
It is. So
did they have an incestuous relationship, the brothers? That's how it's being portrayed. And I don't know if that's just like a gimmick to try to get people to watch it or not, but
they make it very homoerotic.
Because that grosses me out a bit, like,
well,
the fact that they're brothers, and I'm like, ooh.
It's more so in the
they idolize
the promotion of it. Well, and more so in the promotion of it, they sort of make it a bit more homoerotic than it was. But they allude to something about that happening, and that's where people say it's bullshit. So the guy from Vanity Fair throws out a couple of theories when he's talking to his friends, and they reenact those theories. Doesn't necessarily mean it happens, but it was something that was speculation at the time.
And they're very attractive in the show, aren't they?
They are.
And then you see the photos of the real life one, you're like, ooh.
Yeah. I mean, you can sort of see they're cute. And I mean, one of them, I think it's Lyle. Fuck me, his body in it. Jesus Christ, he's wearing Speedos and shit. And it's like, oh, he's fine. But I really recommend it. And I was going to say Tyler would probably like it too. It's not as hardcore as Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, which is pretty hard to watch, but obviously we loved it. It's just really interesting. It's really great. So I'll tell you some of the cast quickly, and I don't want to go into it too much, but obviously Lyle and Eric Menendez are on trial for killing their parents. Their parents are extremely wealthy. The kids get whatever the fuck they want and have absolutely no real sort of emotional connection with their parents. After their parents died, they're not arrested straight away. They think it's a mafia hit because of the way they were shot to pieces. And the kids just go on this fucking spending spree for the months right after their parents died. They spend something like
Jesus.
$700,000 in 4 months or something, which in today's equivalent for the time it was like 1.5 million. They're buying cars, fucking clothes, Rolexes, all this shit. And it was like, guys, calm
Chill
down,
out.
chill out a little bit. You can do all this. Anyway, so some of the cast quickly is Eric Menendez is played by Cooper Cock. You wouldn't probably know any of his movies. He's done some gay ones. Lyle Menendez is Nicholas Alexander Chavez. He's quite hot. Do you know Javier Bardem
Oh yeah,
in
totes.
Eat, Pray, Love and that? He plays the father.
I know
Chloe
who he is.
Sevigny plays the
He
mother.
married Penelope Cruz, I'm pretty sure.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Chloe Sevigny plays the mother.
Yes, I've seen the photo. She looks the part. Yes,
She
I was
is,
shocked when I saw the photo of her. I was like, oh my God, that's Chloe Savini. I was
yeah,
like, I picked it straight away, but I was like, shit.
she's great in it. Nathan Lane, as I told you, he's great. The lady who plays their defense attorney, Ari Grainer, she's fucking
Love
brilliant.
her. Yeah, she's in heaps of shit. I do really love her.
She is amazing in this too. Like it's just love her. And Leslie Grossman, who I fucking love. She's in so many of Ryan
Oh, she
Murphy's
is
things.
in the she's in the girls' version of Ghostbusters. I love her too.
Yeah, she's super good. Um, But there's one scene in episode 5, and I didn't realize it until I read about it afterwards. It's a 32-minute single shot scene of Eric Menendez talking about something. But it's just this one shot, and everyone's raving about how much of a cinematic masterpiece it is
Oh.
and how he should be nominated and blah, blah, blah. So we
Mm.
smashed that out. I think there's 9 episodes over the weekend. I would watch it again. Vinny would also watch it again. The other one, which Tyler might also be interested in, is another one from Ryan Murphy. You know how he's got American Crime Story, American Horror Story, blah, blah, blah. He's got this one, American Sports Story.
he it's about the dude,
Aaron
the
Hernandez.
football guy.
Yes.
Yes, that's the one he desperately wants to watch.
Yes. So we started, it sort of snuck in. I just sort of saw something come up on an article, I think, after I was reading about Monster. And
I only know about that dude because Tyler's told me this about
thing.
him before, and he
Well,
was like, "Oh, this football star."
yeah, got a $40 million contract and fucking yeah. Anyway, we saw a documentary or a special on it a few years ago, so I was very excited because there's, of course, and I think Ryan Murphy would camp it up. There's gay rumors about him as well, and even in the documentary, one guy talks about how he slept with Aaron Hernandez during high school and blah 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 blah. But it's just the fucking trauma of his childhood and the way his dad was a prick and all this pressure to be this amazing footballer. And it was like in 2010 or something, or 2008. There's only 3 episodes out so far. It's on Disney. Totes recommend. We're
Oh,
enjoying it.
we just cut off our Disney.
Oh dear.
Actually, we've got till the 23rd of October. Because
Okay.
it was costing $17.99 a month, and we were never watching it. You know, when you get to the point where you're just watching, you've got all the streaming services, but
And
you
you're
only
watching
find you
3.
watch one or two of them. Like
Yeah.
you go back like Netflix. We're Apple at the moment. It's all Apple.
Yes.
We're always
Yeah.
watching Apple TV, or Foxtel or Netflix. And then I was like,
Yeah.
why are we paying like nearly $20 a month for Disney when I can't remember the last time I turned it on?
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm cutting it off right now.
Well, see, I pay for an annual subscription. So it's like you get 2 months for free basically, and it's just a one hit. So yeah, we're stuck with it. The other thing I wanted to talk about quickly, did you see the update on the Madeline McCann story today?
No, I did not. Well, the last update was the one who the girl said that it was her.
She thought it was her, yeah.
And then the DNA test proved it wasn't.
It was not, yeah. So a guy in a prison, and I don't know where the prison is, said that this cellmate told him how he had abducted a girl in Portugal, how the police had come. When you get out, because I don't think I'm ever leaving, please promise me you'll destroy this barn or something where they think the body's buried, and yada yada yada. And can they get DNA from bones? That's what I was asking. So he's come to the courts and said that. So there might be some advancements. It might be just bullshit.
Yeah.
Yet again.
That poor family, every time someone says that they know something, getting their hopes up that they'll finally have some closure and know what
Smack back
happened.
again, the emotional roller coaster. But it would be, I mean, it wouldn't be great if it was her, but you know, she's dead.
I think the family would be appreciative to have closure and finally know what the fuck happened.
Exactly. All right. Okay, so that's that week. So we're ready to get into the stories.
Yes, let's do. Give us a rating
Oh, I'm
on
gonna.
level of disturbed,
Well, it's funny you said
fucked
that
upness.
because I'm going to say, okay, so I'm doing Ed Gein,
I
the
know the
Butcher of
name.
Plainsfield, aka the Plainsfield Ghoul, and I'm going to
Where's
call this
Plainsfield?
in Missouri, I
Oh,
think.
okay.
Hang on. Where's Plainsfield Ed Gein? Oh, Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin.
Yes. So I'm going to call it as one of my two disturbing TCs that I get to do this season. Plus,
Everyone is disturbing.
but this is one of the very disturbing ones. And to warm you up just a little, but hang on, have you heard of Ed Gein? You haven't?
The name is ringing a bell. Like straight
Yeah.
away, I know the name. I've got some recognition there, but I can't place it.
Okay. So buckle up, please. But yeah, as I was saying, just to warm you up a little bit, Ed Gein is the inspiration for Norman Bates in Psycho,
Oh, yes. Okay, keep going.
Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
Great.
and Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs.
Mm,
So are you
yeah.
ready, you stupid bitch?
No, I'm not at all. Where did you say it was again?
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. Okay, mine's
Don't
in
you get
Mass.
any spoilers?
No, no,
Are
no,
you
that's
doing
okay.
America this week too?
Mhm.
I
I'm
want to
going old
say
school again. I'm really enjoying the old school stuff, like going back because I feel like I don't have to be as politically correct.
accurate and yeah.
I feel like we can joke a little bit more when we go back to the olden times. I'm
It
having
was
fun with it.
500 years ago. It's cool. Chill out. All right. Edward Theodore Gain was born on the 27th of August in 1906
Ooh, old as fuck, like
in
you.
in La Crosse, Wisconsin. He was the younger of two boys with an older brother named Henry. Now, Ed's mum, Augusta, let's just say she was pretty intense. She was super religious. She was super religious, Lutheran to be exact, and spent most of her time preaching to her sons about the world's wickedness. According to her, drinking
The
was
world is a
evil.
wicked, wicked place.
Place.
Please.
According to her, drinking was evil, and women, well, every single one of them besides her were just naturally promiscuous tools of the devil.
The devil. Women are the devil.
Devil! Every afternoon, she'd gather the boys and read Bible verses,
Oh,
usually the
joy.
really cheery stuff from the Old Testament and Revelations, all about death, murder, and divine punishment. And young Ed, well, he was obsessed with his mum. As for his father, George,
Red flag, red flag.
we'll just say that Augusta wasn't a fan of her husband. He was an alcoholic who couldn't hold down a job. He tried his hand at all sorts: carpenter, tanner, insurance salesman, but nothing really stuck. For a while, he ran a grocery shop in La Crosse, but he ended up selling that and moving the whole family out to a remote 155-acre farm in Plainfield, Wisconsin. Augusta loved it because it kept everyone isolated and away from any outside influences that might corrupt her boys. Does this sort of ring a bell to another case I did recently?
Yeah, it does.
Ed only left the farm to go to school, and
The
even
pig
then,
farmer, isn't it?
stinky piggies. Ed only left the farm to go to school, and even then, he wasn't exactly the most social kid. He was shy, effeminate, and would be bullied by the kids because of this. Classmates also remembered, and
Again, piggy
teachers,
farmer, little piggies.
stinky piggy, and classmates and teachers also remembered him as a little bit odd. He'd randomly just start laughing at himself like he was in on some secret joke, which I think's a bit judgmental because I often do that. I often reenact things when I'm by myself. I've been caught by Vinny doing something I see in the video, and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" I'm like, "God damn it, I've been
I talk to
sprung."
myself all the time, especially at work, and my staff, they have all these jokes about it because they're always like, you fucking are always talking to yourself, man. It's like you're having like these little conversations at your desk all the time.
Are you in an open plan, or do you have your little office?
Open, totally open.
So they
I have
all
like
hear
a
it.
cubicle that's sort of to like can see everything, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
sort of segregated. But I have people all around me, and they're all like,
Are you
"She
talking to me?
goes."
Are you talking to me?
They just laugh. I hear them giggling, and that's when I know I've been talking to myself for ages because they're all like giggling around me.
So yeah, he would talk to himself and laugh to himself. And also, whenever he tried to make friends, Augusta, his mother, would punish him. Despite all that, Ed actually did all right in school, especially when it came to reading. Just like you stupid bitch. The similarities, I believe, are uncanny.
I'm very religious. That's true.
You talk to yourself.
Yeah.
on,
Laugh at myself.
on 1 April 1940, Ed's father passed away from heart failure at the age of 66. With George gone,
1940. So he was born in 1906, you said, didn't you?
so what's his face was, he was born in 1906, yes. So
Yeah,
he would have been
so his dad passed away in
34.
1940, so he's like 34. Okay, so he's getting on. He's not a young
Yeah,
spring chicken.
exactly.
But his dad's death was the catalyst of things to come, wasn't it?
No. With George gone, Ed and his brother Henry started doing odd jobs around town to help cover the bills. People in the community generally thought of the brothers as reliable, hard-working, honest blokes. While they both worked as handymen, Ed also picked up babysitting gigs, which he
Oh
really
dear.
enjoyed. He seemed to relate better to kids than he did adults. Henry, on the other hand, was starting to move on with his life. He was dating a divorced mum of two and planning to shack up with her, but he was worried about Ed's unhealthy attachment to their mum. Henry often criticised her around Ed, which left Ed shocked and hurt. Then, and you'll
Poor
like
Ed.
this, on the 16th of May, 1944,
Again with the
Maria's
16th of
birthday,
May every time. It's been like
especially
consecutive weeks, hasn't it? It's been like
this
week
season
after
in
week after
particular.
week.
Yeah, things took a turn. Ed was out burning off some marsh vegetation on their property when the fire got a bit out of control.
As
He
it
called,
does.
he called his brother to
Been
help
there.
him getting rid of that marsh vegetation.
Burning off, mate. Just burning off.
He calls his brother to help him and try and put it out, and they're unable to, and the local fire department were called in. And once everything was sorted, Ed realized all of a sudden his brother Henry is missing. After a search, they found Henry's body laying face down on the grass. The grass around him wasn't charred, so he hadn't been burnt, which roused some suspicion. Later, biographer Harold Shetner revealed that Henry had bruises on his head, which was evident when they found the body. Despite this, the cops
Was
didn't
Henry
suspect
older or younger?
older.
Okay.
The cops didn't suspect any foul play, and the coroner ruled his death as asphyxiation.
Don't talk shit about mummy.
That's my mama. There wasn't any further investigation, and no autopsy was done. With Henry gone, it was just Ed and his mum, Augusta.
Just the
Not
way
long
you wanted it.
after, just how he wanted it, not long after Henry's death, Augusta suffers a stroke, leaving her in a bit of a bad way. Ed takes on the role of her carer, completely devoted to looking after her. In 1945, that's the year my mummy was born, they visited a local fellow named Smith to buy some straw, and during their visit, Augusta witnessed Smith beating a dog. A woman came out of Smith's house yelling at him to stop, but Smith just went on to kill the dog. Augusta wasn't upset about the cruelty to the animal. Nope, what bothered her was that the woman wasn't married to Smith, so she angrily called her Smith's harlot. Soon after that incident, Augusta has another stroke, and her health quickly goes downhill. She ends up dying on the 29th of December in 1945 at the age of 67. Ed was absolutely gutted. He'd
It's
lost
getting on
his
in life
only
then, isn't
friend.
he?
He'd lost his only friend and one true love, his mama,
Yeah.
and was left completely alone in the world. His grip on reality slowly slipped into deeper, darker insanity. Okay, so that's some of the background on babysitter Ed, please. Ed continued doing odd jobs around town after his mother's death and was known as a bit of an interesting character, a bit odd, but considered harmless, and still a hard worker. Then, On the morning of the 16th of November, 1957, so 12 years after the mother's death, 58-year-old Bernice Borden, who owned the local hardware store in Plainfield, just vanishes. Witnesses saw the store's truck driving away from the back of the building at about 9:30 that morning, but not much else. It was a pretty quiet day in town, likely due to deer hunting season. So there weren't many
Been there.
customers dropping by the store. I know. We all know how important deer hunting season is. It was a big pastime in Plainsville, plus. Later that afternoon at around 5 p.m., Bernice's son, Deputy Sheriff Frank Warden, stopped by the shop and was immediately alarmed. The cash register is wide open and there were bloodstains on the floor. Why would you target the deputy's mother? I don't know. Frank told the investigators that Gein had been in the store the night before and was expected the next morning to pick up some antifreeze.
Who was Frank? Which one was Frank?
Frank's the son of the lady
deputy
who's gone missing. Yeah.
Oh, the deputy. Right.
Deputy. So sure enough,
deputy
that's what I was thinking. Sure enough, the last sales receipt written by Bernice that day was for a gallon of antifreeze, which is what Ed had gone in to pick up the night before, had to come back the next morning. She's disappeared. Last thing that was there was a receipt for the antifreeze. The police were able to get a warrant to search Ed's house. Ed wasn't there at the time, but the warrant allowed them to enter the decaying shack that he called home. It's slightly Grey Gardens style. It has no electricity or internal plumbing. So the police enter the property using their flashlights as their only guide. When they enter the sheds, one of the officers feels something brush against his arm. He directs the flashlight in that direction and finds Bernice Warden's body, decapitated, strung by her legs with ropes tied around her wrists and a crossbar at her ankles. Her torso had been, and I quote, dressed out like that of a deer. So I'm guessing guts out, ribcage spread open.
Fucking hell.
She had been shot with a .22 caliber rifle, and thankfully, the horrific mutilations were done after she was dead. I guess you don't cut off their head while they're you can't, Anyway.
It's hard to say.
It's hard to say. But the nightmare didn't stop there. What they found inside Gein's house was much worse. As they continued stumbling around the house, they unearthed what could only be described as a house of horrors, please. Are you ready to hear of their discoveries?
No.
Whole human bones and bone fragments. A wastebasket made of human skin covering several chairs, as in like upholstered into the chairs, skulls on his bedposts, female skulls, some with the tops sawn off, bowls made from human skulls, a corset made from a female torso, skinned from shoulder to waist with the breasts still intact.
Was this the one who had stuff in the fridge too? Did he have...
No,
okay.
No. Leggings made from human leg skin, masks made from the skin of female heads, Bernice Warden's entire head in a burlap sack. And when they found that, so I watched a YouTube documentary on it last night, the officer said he opened the sack, he saw this mat of hair in there, and he goes, he doesn't know what possessed him to do it, but he stuck his hand in, grabbed the hair and pulled it out. And it was fucking Bernice Warden's head. Her heart in a plastic bag in front of Gein's potbelly stove. 9 vulvae in a shoebox. A young girl's dress and the vulvas of 2 females judged to have been about 15 years old. A belt made from female human nipples. 4 noses. A pair of lips on a window shade drawstring. A lampshade made from the skin of a human face. And fingernails from female fingers. They also found...
Hell, baby. I'm sorry if you got this far, baby. I should have warned you to turn back earlier.
They also found a lot of the rooms were boarded up. And when they burst through, they find that these were the rooms that his mother would use, her bedroom, The entire upstairs was boarded up, the living room downstairs, and he kept them in pristine condition. So when they opened them up, it was like from the day she died. The Holy Bible on the shade, the bed made, everything was just as it was the day she died. He just boarded up the room and lived in a little room
Jesus.
next to the kitchen. So you can see how the reference to Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
Oh, and Silence
Buffalo
of the
Bill,
Lambs.
and fucking
Totally.
Psycho. Mother.
So who? So I have so many questions. Where was all the missing people reports? Because he was like in an isolated area, right? And everyone knew him in the town. If there's all these bodies, there must have been missing people.
Well, there were, but we'll get to that too. So the police photographed everything that they found at the crime scene and then made sure it was decently
Was the
disposed
son there?
of.
Was Henry there when he went in? Like,
The sheriff,
yeah, the deputy.
the deputy. I actually don't know, but I'm going to say yes. Let's pretend he's the one who pulled the head out the bag.
Oh,
When they questioned Gein, he refused to speak at first and then told the officers if they would give him a slice of apple pie with cheddar cheese grated on top, he would spill. Do you know they do
cheddar
that in America?
cheese
They put
grated on top.
even in you know that show Pushing Daisies. Ned
Mm.
owns a pie store, and she makes pies for her aunts with Gruyere cheese on top. It must be a thing, and they must grill it in or something. I don't know.
Oh, I can't even. And I love cheese,
Yeah,
but I love apple pie, and I do not want to combine the two,
maybe just
especially after this story.
a little taste. He would spill if they gave him that. They do, and he does. He revealed that between 1942 and 1947, sorry, and 1952, he had made around 40 late night trips to local graveyards, digging up recently buried
Ah,
bodies while in what he described as a daze-like state. Strangely, he claimed that on about 30 of those occasions, he'd snap out of it and leave the graves undisturbed, heading home empty-handed.
sure.
But on the other nights, things would take a much darker turn. Gain confessed to digging up the bodies of middle-aged women who reminded him of his mother. He brought their remains back to his house where he tanned their skin and used it to create his macabre collection of paraphernalia.
Look, that's slightly better than it actually being alive, people.
People getting slight, yeah. When they exhumed the graves, the findings lined up with Gain's confession. One casket was completely empty, another had Gain's crowbar inside, and the third had most of the body missing. Although Gein had bizarrely returned some rings and a few body parts, his disturbing story, it seemed, was largely confirmed.
He was nuts. But what? Okay. So surely there must have been some reports of like, hey, I've had a few bodies going missing.
Well,
Like, it's like you're digging them up. It's fresh grave. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're gonna know that someone's been in there.
what he would do was repack everything back so it didn't look like they'd been disturbed. And because it's fresh, it was all fresh soil on top. So he was able to dig, open, take shit out, and just put the soil back on.
So he was like hanging there waiting while
He
like they'd had the ceremony and shit, and then they go off like after the funeral, and then he just goes in there.
That night he'd go back and so not long after his mum's death, Gaines started crafting what he called a woman suit. So he could, in his own words, become his mother, literally crawl into her skin. He was quick to point out that he never had sex with any of the bodies, saying that they smelled too bad. So let's just take a minute and can you imagine, just imagine the shit that went on in that house when he was by himself. He had the human skin leggings on, his chest vest with the tits,
The
and a
belt with the
mask
nipples.
of someone's face walking around the house, obviously pretending to be his mother or something. Like, that's so fucking fucked up shit right there. Like, imagine peeking through his window if you were a kid, going, let's check out Spooky Gain, and
What
seeing
I
that.
love the most is that everyone's like, he was a hard worker,
A
you know,
harmless
a little
fellow.
bit odd.
Meanwhile, he's walking around in people's skin in the fucking household.
So was the lady what's her name? Was it Bernice?
No, was it Brenda? No. What the fuck? Hang on. Oh no, that's sorry.
Henry's mum.
Bernice's.
Yeah,
You're very
yeah.
good memory. Much better than mine. And I took the notes.
Yeah, I know. The fuck. So was she the first actual person that he killed?
We'll get to that.
Oh no. I was hoping that doesn't seem so bad if it's just one person.
So
I'm just worried about him like babysitting all those fucking kids,
kids.
man.
That's what I've got down somewhere, but we talk about it now. I was just like, imagine finding that out and having him in your house and babysitting kids, babysitting your children and shit like that, what you'd be
Oh yeah,
thinking.
giving them and cheese and sitting
Yeah,
down and watching some telly with them, reading them a book before they go to sleep.
your skin is so supple. he whereas my notes, heading home empty-handed, his disturbing story. But yeah, like what the actual fuck, what a twisted head. I just can't imagine imagine being a fly on the wall and watching it, or if he'd actually kidnapped you as like a horrible serial killer and had you tied up while he was dancing around in front of you in that skin suit or something. You'd just be like, what good
You're
God is
taking
going
it
on?
too far now. You're taking it too far.
That's
Like
where my head goes. I mean, imagine, God. So while being
seeing the dance
questioned,
of the flesh.
while being questioned at the state crime lab, the police mention that another missing woman's remains were found in the house. Mary Hogan's face mask appeared in a paper bag. And when I say mask, what he would do is hammer a nail into each of their ears and then tie a string to each of the nails so he could literally wear it as a mask or hang it up decoratively. They also found Mary Hogan's skull in a box. Mary Hogan had gone missing 3 years prior. She worked at a beer tavern in the town of Pine Grove, and the tavern is about 6 miles north of their farm. The tavern would be frequented by deer hunters after their day of hunting, and she was well able to hold her own with these guys. Like, apparently, she swore like a motherfucking pirate. She was rough, gruff, blah, blah, blah. One afternoon, she just disappeared. Her body was never found, but extensive bloodstains indicated it was almost certain evidence that a slaying had occurred and the body had been hauled away. But that
And
was
what
all
year
they
was
knew.
that? How long before Bernice?
So that was 3 years prior. And
Okay.
so it was early, was it 45?
So it was escalating then. It was like, there's no more, not enough frequency of the dead bodies that look like my
Yeah,
mother.
I need my own. She reminds me well of a mum, well of my mum. Um,
Imagine being like in the shop and he comes in and you serve and he was like, "You remind me of Augustus."
Augusta.
Oh, I'm sorry about your mum. I heard she passed away like 10 years ago. Oh, she
Oh
was a
no,
nice lady.
she's
Very
still
religious, but
here.
nice. You still remind me of Augustus.
Augusta. She's still with us. She's with me everywhere. Um,
Fucking hell.
so yeah, she disappeared. The slaying had occurred, and confronted with this evidence, Gein also admitted to killing Mary Hogan, but later claimed he couldn't remember any of the details of her death.
Sure, yeah.
During his questioning, Sheriff Art Schlee reportedly lost his cool and slammed Gein's head into a brick wall, which meant Gein's original confession was ruled out in court.
Oh, of course. The dude with all the corpses in his house gets roughed up a little bit. Boom, boom.
Confess. So that guy, that sheriff, actually died in 1968 at just 43 from heart failure. People who knew him said the trauma of Gein's gruesome crimes and the pressure of possibly testifying about the assault took a serious toll on him. I say,
Absolutely.
stop slamming people's head into brick walls. Fuck you with the pressure. I mean, I know Gaines a psycho, but I also imagine it wasn't the first time he slammed someone's head into a brick wall, if you catch my proverbial.
Yeah, I'm still with that dude.
Police brutality. On the 21st of November 1957, Gein was charged with first-degree murder in Washara County Court. He pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. After being diagnosed with schizophrenia and deemed mentally unfit for trial, he's sent off to Central State Hospital for the criminally insane, which is now the Dodge Correctional Institution. Later on, he was
Would have had
transferred.
some fun times there.
I could imagine, especially in that day and age. Later on, he was transferred to Mendota State Hospital in Madison. Fast forward to 1968, doctors decided Gein was mentally competent enough to stand trial. His trial kicks off on the 7th of November and goes for just a week. A psychiatrist shared that Gein wasn't sure if the murder of Warden was intentional or an accident. He claimed that he was fiddling with a gun in her store when it went off,
Sure.
but he didn't remember pointing at it at her or what happened next. Sure, Ed. Sure.
Been there.
Been there. I thought it was a deer. The, the trial was held.
It was an accident.
I just want a skin. Can I have a skin? The trial was held without jury at the defense's request. You know how they can do that. And Judge Robert H. Golmar was in charge. By 14th of November, Gein was found guilty, but a second trial focusing on his sanity led to a different outcome. After hearing from various doctors, the judge ruled Gein not guilty by reason of insanity, sending him back to the mental hospital for the rest of his days. The judge later wrote that due to the high costs, Gein was only tried for Warden's murder, though he had also admitted to killing Mary Hogan. That's shit, isn't it? Like that poor fucking Hogan doesn't get any justice. Gein's house, along with 195 acres of land, was valued at $4,700, about $50,000 in today's money. But I'm assuming the land value would be quite a bit more than what it is.
Where did it go? Because the government would have taken it, really.
195 acres.
It didn't go anywhere. Like, there's no one to leave it to.
Yeah. There were plans to auction off all of his belongings on the 30th of March, 1958.
All of his belongings? Inclusive of what?
Nipple belt.
Stockings.
Skull bowl.
The lamp. Let's not forget the lamp with the lips at the end.
No, that was on the drawstring for the window shade. So you pull the lips down.
I thought it was a lamp shade and it was like the lips with it.
That's if it was. Like, it just pulled the lips down to shut his blind. But he had a lamp that was made out of a human face. So it would have had, I imagine, the features of a face.
You've thought about this a lot, haven't you?
But rumors started flying around the place that it could turn into a grim tourist attraction. So before that could happen, on the morning of 20th of March, the house was burnt to the ground.
By who? The police? Or just a vigilante?
It seems like vigilante. A deputy fire marshal reported that a cleaning crew had started a garbage fire about 75 feet away from the house, and that's how it caught on fire. Although hot coals were found at the bonfire site, it didn't look like the fire spread naturally to the house. Arson was suspected.
Like his brother. I'm sorry.
Exactly. Arson was suspected, but the official cause of the fire was never confirmed. It's thought, and you'll love this, that Frank Warden, the fire chief and son of Gein's victims, Bernice Warden, didn't exactly rush to put out the flames.
He wouldn't.
So when Gein heard about the fire while he was in custody, he just shrugged it off, saying, just as well. So Bernice had some pretty prominent children in town. The fire chief was one son and the deputy sheriff was the other. And Gaines thought, oh, this might be a good one to kill. No one will know.
No, I think it was just because she looked like
Mama.
Augusta. That's what it was, or reminded him of her, although she wasn't probably as Bible bashing as Augusta was.
So Gaines' Ford sedan, which he used to transport his victims' bodies, was sold at an auction for $760, about $8,000 today, to a carnival sideshow owner named Bunny Gibbons, who would then charge people 25 cents a pop to come and have a gander at the car.
Yuck, yuck, yuck.
Gein passed away at the Mendota Mental Health Institute on the 26th of July, 1984, from respiratory failure brought on by his lung cancer. He was 77. Over the years, his gravestone at Plainfield Cemetery became a target for souvenir hunters, with people chipping off bits and pieces. Eventually, the entire stone was nicked in 2000. It wasn't until June 2001 that it was found near Seattle, Washington, and it's now kept in storage by the Washara County Police Sheriff's.
What stone
was it? His gravestone.
Oh, okay.
While his gravesite is unmarked these days, it's no secret that he rests between his parents and brother in the cemetery. Ed Gein's chilling tale has left a significant mark on American pop culture, surfacing in countless films, music, and literature. It first gained widespread attention through Robert Bloch's 1959 suspense novel Psycho, which was adapted into a film in 1960. Gein's story has been loosely reimagined into various films.
Yeah, yes. Okay.
including Deranged, Ed Gein, the Butcher of Plainfield, and even Ed Gein, the musical, which came out in 2010. So I thought, I wonder how that musical would go. And I came up with Mama just wore a face, did a dance in skin leggings, made a belt of some nipples. Mama, I eat from a skull bowl. Or he's got legs and he knows how to skin them. But I would love to hear what songs they actually.
My God, you are so fucking messed up.
I'd love to actually hear what happens in the musical or the songs they sing. I must look it up. He also served as a key inspiration for several fictional serial killers: Norman Bates, Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Buffalo Bill. Garland Green from Con Air. Do you remember Con Air? Nicolas Cage?
Absolutely. Yeah.
The Garland Green's meant to be on him, and he's the one I think's in The Cage. And Dr. Oliver Thredson from the TV series American Horror Story Asylum. Gein's influence stretched into music too, inspiring American grunge band Tad to create Nipple Belt from their 1989 album God's Balls. And thrash metal legend Slayer penned Dead Skin Mask for their 1990 album Seasons in the Abyss.
Nice.
He also inspired the track Nothing to Gain, see what they did there, by heavy metal band Mudvayne for their 2000 album LD50. Additionally, so you know how we were talking about Monster and the Menendez brothers?
Yes.
Earlier. So it's announced Charlie Hunnam. You know Charlie Hunnam?
Yeah, I love Charlie Hunnam.
He's going to be taking on the role of Ed Gein in the third season of Monster, which will center around him, which I cannot wait to see.
I actually saw that Charlie Hunnam was going to be in one of the new Ryan Murphy ones, and I didn't realize it was that. Oh, yuck. I don't know if I want to watch it.
Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait because it'll have all his childhood and all that shit. It'll be great. On the outskirts of Plainfield, the media frenzy surrounding Gein's crime gave birth to a subgenre of black humor called Gainers. I've only got two. I could only find two, but here's two examples for you. There once was a farmer named Ed who liked to cavort with the dead. He'd dig up the grave, all the better to save a carcass he'd hang in the shed. And why does Ed Gein always keep the heating on? So his furniture doesn't get goosebumps. Do you get that?
Yes, I do, but I don't think it's as amusing as you do.
It's black humor, Dad. It's a gainer. Anyway, that, my dear stupid bitch, is the case of Ed Gein Plus.
Oh my God, you're going to wet yourself when you hear mine then. The limericks. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
The Lizzie Borden murder case stands as one of the most infamous and enduring mysteries in American criminal history.
Lizzie Borden, cool, good choice.
This shocking crime, which took place during the Gilded Age in New England, don't know what it is, I didn't look it up, I apologize, left a mark on the public consciousness. The sheer brutality of the murders, combined with the shocking nature of the accusations, captivated the attention of newspapers across the nation, turning it into a media sensation of the time. What made the case even more chilling was the identity of the prime suspect, Lizzie Borden, a young woman, she wasn't that young, from a respectable family. Her involvement in such a gruesome act seemed inconceivable to many, yet the evidence pointed to her not really.
I remember there being something about, did she actually do it? Did they just find a crazy woman and go, well, just pin it on her?
There's a few crazy women in this story. The case has since become a permanent part of American folklore, immortalized through a haunting nursery rhyme that has been passed down through generations, ensuring that Lizzie Borden's name would never be forgotten. Do you want to hear that rhyme? Do you know the rhyme?
Lizzie Borden
took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. And when you were doing your little limericks at the end of Ed Gein's, I was like, oh my God, one starts with a little fucking poem.
Limerick. The same vein again.
I know. Once again, we totally did not plan this at all. It just happened. 2 peas in a pod, plus.
2 peas in a podcast, please.
So I know we've talked about this on the podcast many times about what a weirdo my mum was when I was a kid, always tricking or forcing me into watching horror movies. She was the first person who introduced me to this song and the story of old Lizzie. We watched a film where the dad slurped this horrible gruel type stew in the kitchen, and mum was all like, no wonder she killed him. My mum. I tried to find the movie. This would have been in the 80s, and all I could find were the more recent versions with Christina Ricci and Kirsten Stewart. And oh my God, that reminds me, we totally need to do Casper. But mum literally, like, I remember being very young and she was just singing this song to me. Watch this movie with me. Lizzie Borden took a knack and gave her mother 40 whacks, and when she saw what she had done, she gave her mother 41.
41.
I was like, Mom, what the fuck? And I was like probably 7. She's like, watch this movie with me. I was like, no, Mum.
It's about family.
I'm so traumatized by all the films you make me watch. Although the popular belief is that Lizzie Borden was responsible for the grisly murders, the famous rhyme associated with the case contains several inaccuracies. For one, the rhyme refers to the female victim as Lizzie's mother, but in reality it was her stepmother, Abby Borden, who was killed. Additionally, the rhyme mentions an axe as the murder weapon, but the tool actually used was a hatchet. A smaller and lighter instrument. Who gives a fuck?
Still kind of axe-like.
Exactly. Furthermore, the number of blows stated in the rhyme is exaggerated. It just doesn't have the same ring to it, though.
What was the original?
While the verse claims a much higher number, the true count was closer to 19 strikes on Abby Borden, the stepmother, who was 64 years old, and around 10 or 11 blows on Lizzie's father, Andrew Borden, who was 69. She was 64 and the dad was 69. So clearly, absolutely. So clearly, the stepmother was the intended target because she really copped it with 19 strikes, but the dad copped 10 or 11. These strikes, though, were brutal enough to render Andrew, the dad's face, unrecognizable, adding to the horror of the crime. So imagine poor Abby.
Yeah,
she copped 19. Maybe she got it
right
all
in the face,
in the body.
That's personal.
Exactly. Despite these embellishments, the rhyme does get one crucial detail correct: the sequence of the murders. Abby Borden was killed first, followed by her husband after about an hour and a half later. Both attacks occurring on the fateful morning of August 4th, 1892. Yeah, you were born a stupid bitch.
I am now 130.
Looking okay for your age, I guess.
Thank you.
This eerie
moisturizing is key, people.
It is. It is. Get into it early, guys. And also maybe a little bit of Botox.
Yeah.
This eerie blend of fact and fiction within the rhyme has helped cement the Lizzie Borden case in the public's imagination, ensuring that its details, however distorted, remain part of American folklore. I wonder, though, young people, they would not have heard of this, right? Unless they watched the Christina Ricci series, which was...
Well, I don't know. Like what? Like if it's
Lizzie
from
Borden
1892 and it still made it into our ears, fucking...
Yeah, but like, we're old.
Yeah.
Do you think any young kid has heard it now? Like, do you think Link knows it? I doubt it.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like
maybe in pop culture reference. I'm pretty sure there's a Simpsons episode about it, actually.
Yeah, in the Halloween episodes.
I think there's something, yeah. A crucial element in unraveling the mystery of the Borden murders is understanding the societal landscape of Fall River, Massachusetts.
Ooh.
Say
Fall
it.
River, Massachusetts. You say it.
Massachusetts. You say it.
Massachusetts.
Oh. Massachusetts. Say it, you dumb bitch.
Massachusetts.
Located about 50 miles south of Boston, we know Fall River was a thriving textile mill town at the time of the murders. known for its stark class divides. Imagine the class divides in 1892.
Well, seeing as you brought that up, I quickly Googled what is the Gilded Age in simple terms. It's a time of great political corruption and wealth inequality in the late 1800s.
Which is happening right now, right?
Yeah, the early 2000s.
You can go here and the house is still here and it's actually a mansion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it looks really like dulled up. It looks pretty good, but it's been there forever. Like they've obviously remodeled it a bunch of times, but yeah, yuck. You would totally go there. Well, if we go,
we would totally
if we go to Massachusetts, we'll put it on the list.
Yeah.
The town was not only shaken by the horrific nature of the crime, but also by the social standing of its victims. The murders of Andrew and Abby Borden exposed the cultural, religious, ethnic, gender, and class tensions that simmered beneath the surface of Fall River's society. These divisions played a significant role in shaping public opinions about Lizzie Borden's guilt or innocence and drew national attention to the case, making it a subject of intense debate across the country. In the early morning hours of August 4th, 1892, following the discovery of the bodies, the town was gripped by shock and confusion.
1982.
1892. You dumb bitch. What they initially knew was that the killings had occurred in broad daylight inside the Borden home, located just 1 block from the bustling business district. The crime had taken place on a busy street, yet there was no apparent motive, no robbery, no sexual assault, no signs of a break-in. The sheer audacity of the murders committed in such a public and populated area left the public reeling. Neighbors had heard nothing unusual and no one reported seeing any suspicious figures entering or leaving the Borden residence. The mystery deepened with every detail that emerged. Ooh. So, Andrew Borden was no ordinary victim. He was a man of considerable wealth and influence in Fall River. Like other members of the prominent Borden family, Andrew had built his fortune through investments in textile mills, banks, and real estate. Same. Yet, despite his wealth, Andrew was known for his frugality. He chose to live on the modest 2nd Street in a relatively plain house, not that plain, rather than in the more prestigious area of Fall River known as the Hill. The Hill was a leafy, upscale neighborhood where the town's elite, those with old money and social standing, resided in stately homes. This decision to remain in an unfashionable part of town, instead of moving to the coveted Hill, further complicated the perception of Andrew Borden within the community. Lizzie fucking hated it.
I would too. Dad.
We are so fucking rich. Can we please move to the good area of town?
I want to be in the hills.
No. Yeah. No. I want to eat gruel and pretend I'm not rich. Dad.
Oh, so he was making gruel and they were rich too, yeah. How old was she?
Hear my bit about how Mum made me watch it? And
I would have killed him too. Yeah. I just clicked. How old was Lizzie at the time?
It's funny you should ask. Lizzie was 32 years old at the time and still living at home. She was not content with her father's choice to remain on 2nd Street. She longed for the social prestige that came with living on the Hill, and she was well aware that her father had the financial means to make the move. Totally the reason that she killed them. 40 whacks. And she was well aware that her
41
father
for that bucker
had the financial means to make that move. I think I just said that. However, Andrew's refusal to do so, along with the increasingly changing demographic of their neighborhood, which was becoming dominated by Catholic immigrants.
From Ireland.
Gross.
That's got to be from Ireland, isn't it?
Fueled Lizzie's dissatisfaction. Yeah, there's this whole piece that I researched about the Irish immigrants, and I actually cut most of it, but I love that you got to that straight away. This tension within the Borden household, set against the backdrop of Fall River's deep social divides, added another layer of complexity to the case and shaped the way the public and the media interpreted the events that unfolded. The Borden murders were not just a shocking crime, they became a reflection of the wider social and cultural issues of the time. Initially, the police believed the brutal Borden murders were the work of a man, likely an outsider or a foreigner, a reflection of the strong native sentiments that permeated Four Rivers at the time. Just hours after the discovery of Andrew and Abby Borden's bodies, law enforcement acted on these biases and arrested their first suspect, a Portuguese immigrant newly arrived in town as part of the European labour force working in the textile mills, which is where they made their money.
Yes.
However, it quickly became apparent that this man was innocent and he was released. But his arrest highlighted the xenophobic attitudes many in the community held towards immigrants. Sucks to be you guys, seriously. Lizzie was not immune to these prejudices, which may have influenced her behaviour on the day of the murders. According to her account, she had returned to the house from the barn. What was she doing in the barn?
She was milking a pig.
It's hard to say. I feel like she wouldn't have, gone into the barn on any type of reason, but whatever. So she returned from the barn only just to discover her father's lifeless body. So at this point, the mother's already dead and has been dead for a couple of hours, but she finds the dad first, right? In a panic, she calls out for the Borden's 26-year-old Irish servant, Bridget Maggie Sullivan, who had been resting in her room on the third floor. What the fuck is she doing resting?
When there's fucking people getting slaughtered. Yeah, and exactly.
Jesus, Maggie.
It's not even nighttime.
Lizzie instructed Maggie to go find help, specifically sending her across the street to the home of the family physician, a Yankee doctor.
A Yankee Doodle dandy.
When the doctor was not home, Lizzie then directed Maggie to fetch a friend from further down the street. What is striking, however, is that Lizzie never sought assistance from the Irish immigrant doctor who lived right next door to the Borden home. Despite his prestigious education and position as Four Rivers city physician, the doctor was overlooked. Similarly,
he was
just totes racist. Similarly, Lizzie made no effort to contact a French-Canadian doctor who lived diagonally behind their house. In Lizzie's mind, only a Yankee doctor, Yankee Doodle-doo, a reflection of the town's old New England elite, was acceptable to handle the situation. These ethnic and cultural divisions, blah, 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 only shaped Lizzie's actions, but also influenced the early stages of the investigation. For some time, Lizzie was shielded from suspicion, largely because of her status as a member of the town's upper class, living in a shit house. As a respected Sunday school teacher at the Central Congregational Church, Lizzie belonged to a social circle that could hardly fathom someone like her committing such an atrocity. The notion that a woman of her standing could slaughter her parents seemed unthinkable to those around her. And this societal bias contributed to the initial reluctance to seriously consider her as a suspect.
Can you see her, though, like with the hatchet and the father? I said, no,
100%.
more gruel.
40 whacks for you. During Lizzie Borden's interrogation, her responses to different police officers began to shift, and her lack of visible emotion, particularly her failure to shed a single tear, raised suspicions among the authorities. She was mostly interrogated by Irish police, though, which, she had no time for. Ick.
FYI, people, we love the Irish. My husband is Irish. We're
doing a bit.
We're doing a bit.
The case grew even more damning when a police officer discovered that Borden had attempted to purchase prussic acid, a highly toxic substance, from a nearby drugstore just a day before the murders. Now, look, they disclaim this later, but what was she going to do with the acid? I don't know. They were already whacked 40 times and then 41 times plus.
41 times in the face. I wonder if, she could have looked to try to burn the bodies, dissolve the bodies, but I'm sure she was on a homestead, wasn't she?
I don't want to get my nails dirty.
Ew.
I've already washed off the blood.
What's it? Bridget? Bridget, fix this.
A local newspaper, the Fall River Globe, that often criticized the city's wealthy mill owners, soon turned its attention to the Borden case. It relentlessly pushed the narrative of Lizzie's guilt, even suggesting that her wealthy family members on the hill were pooling millions of dollars to ensure that she would never be convicted, even though she wasn't living on the hill. She wanted to. Dad wouldn't let her.
Just fed a grill.
Gross. In contrast, the more conservative Fall River Evening News, not the Globe, which served the interest of the town's light elite, defended Lizzie's innocence, framing her as a victim of biased investigation. The public's fascination with the case intensified when 5 days after the murders, authorities convened an inquest. Over the course of 3 days, Lizzie Borden took the stand, making the only time she testified under oath in connection with the crime. Her testimony proved disastrous, even more damaging than the inconsistencies police had already compiled. Her own words led her deeper into a web of apparent self-incrimination.
Do you know what sucks with those? Like, and you can imagine back then, but even like today with Patsy Ramsey, your chick that you did where the son went missing and she got put to jail, then she came free.
Oh, from the antifreeze, and it was a medical condition.
No. The one where they found his body. He went to the carnival and all that shit, and he had the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
That because they didn't cry like they should, like a good woman should behave, they're clearly guilty. Not saying that Lizzie is innocent. I'd need to hear the facts first.
There's not a lot of facts. There's not. Just the rhyme. She took an axe.
Oh, she did it. She fucking did it.
Gave her mother 40 whacks. Then when she saw what she had done, gave her father 41. Throughout the inquest, Lizzie had no defense attorney to advise her because she was a woman, and the inquiry was conducted behind closed doors. Despite this, she was not without supporters. The family physician, obviously the Yankee, a firm believer in her innocence, testified that he had prescribed a double dose of morphine to help Lizzie sleep in the days following the murders. He argued that the drug side effects could explain her erratic behavior and confused testimony. Additionally, Lizzie's older sister, Emma Borden, who was 41,
there was a sister. Yeah,
41 plus, still living at home, at the time insisted that there was no animosity between the sisters and their stepmother, Abby Borden. And then I put a comment. They were some old ladies still living at home. Smithsters, if you will, plus. However, the police investigation and statements from neighbours and family members painted a different picture. On the day of the murders, Emma, the older sister, 41, was away on vacation, leaving only Lizzie and Bridget Sullivan, the family's Irish servant, at home with Abby Borden after Andrew had left for his morning errands. While Sullivan was out, Maggie was outside washing windows. She was doing something. She was a bit tired after washing all the windows. That's why she was having a kip. Abby was brutally murdered in the second floor guest room. Why was she in the guest room? Later, when Andrew returned home and was killed in the first floor sitting room, Maggie was resting in her attic bedroom.
Now, how do you not hear someone getting fucking hatcheted in the face 19 times?
Yeah, maybe it was Maggie.
11. Maggie or Bridget?
It was Bridget Maggie Sullivan, but they called her Maggie, yeah. With Lizzie unable to consistently account for her whereabouts during both murders, she was in the barn doing stuff.
And then you drugged her up and she forgot.
The authorities grew increasingly convinced of her guilt. The judge, district attorney, and police marshal ultimately concluded that Lizzie Borden was probably guilty. Love that for her.
Probably.
On August 11, exactly 1 week after the murders, Lizzie was formally arrested. Despite her privileged background, she was sent to the county jail and confined to a small, cheerless cell measuring 9.5 by 7.5 feet. Bet you wish you liked your old house now.
Yeah, exactly.
For the next 9 months, Lizzie Borden, once a respected member of Fall River Society, found herself in stark and isolating conditions, awaiting her fate in one of the most sensational murder trials in American history. Lizzie Borden's arrest sparked a national sensation, drawing widespread attention and outrage. Women's groups quickly rallied in her defense. Think of the time.
Suffragette.
Absolutely. With organizations like the Women's Christian Temperance Union, totes want to be part of that, and suffragettes among her most vocal supporters. They argued that Borden would not receive a fair trial as she would not be judged by a jury of her peers. Women were not yet permitted to serve on juries.
Of course. So all the men.
Or vote, leaving her fate in the hands of men. Gross.
Who are all gonna fucking be like, lock
absolutely
her up.
She did it. She's 31. Gross. Why isn't she married? I tried to ask her out this one time and she said no.
She should be in jail for that alone.
Where's her babies? Throughout her legal ordeal, Borden's upper-class standing provided significant advantages. At her preliminary hearing, one of Boston's top defense lawyers joined forces with the family's attorney to argue her innocence. So here's where money comes in. I'm going to kill my dog. The small courtroom located above the police station was filled with supporters, especially women from Fall River's affluent Hill neighborhood. The defense team found moments of optimism during the proceedings, such as when a Harvard chemist testified that he found no traces of blood on the 2 axes and 2 hatchets recovered from the Borden home. What the fuck? Additionally, Lizzie had voluntarily handed over the dress she had worn the morning of the murders, which bore only a tiny blood stain on the hem.
Why do you find that so funny?
Ew!
Get this off me. She handed over hoping it would get dry cleaned. Can you fix this?
Also, she would have, she's trashed all the other shit. Yeah. She's made Maggie go and wash them in the river. Her attorney seized on these points, arguing that the prosecution lacked crucial evidence. There was no murder weapon, no bloody clothes. Well, there was. but there was no blood on them. Hem. So the 2 axes and the hatchets that were at the Borden home had no blood on them, traces, allegedly, because, they wouldn't have had anything to swab and stuff like that if they were clean. Light. Yeah, exactly. No black light. No murder weapon, no bloody clothes, except for the tiny blood stain on the hem. Ew. And the claim that she had tried to purchase prussic acid was merely a case of mistaken identity. Throughout it all, Borden's defenders maintained that it was culturally impossible for a woman of her stature, a Protestant nun, as the national president of the Temperance Union described her, to commit such a heinous crime because she was unwed and lived at home. She had to be a virgin, plus.
Oh, yeah, of course. And she would never kill. She's rich.
She's pure. Pure women don't do anything like that. They're from God. They've never been touched by a penis.
How weird that is part of their defense. She was a woman of noble standing. I
love that. I think it's the best. Okay, so the image of a Protestant nun, I'd already made all these comments about she being unwed and she would never have had dick. But let me talk to you about the image of a Protestant nun. Speaks to the broader societal expectations of upper-class women in the late 19th century New England. Many native-born women of that time remained unmarried, and while some embraced the spinster label, others saw it as limiting, reflecting the unrealistic standards of victorious Victorian womanhood.
So I remember reading somewhere that apparently a spinster, unwed women were called a spinster because, and I think that's got to do with weaving or something like that, is because they were able to pay for themselves and make their way in the world without the need or support of a man. And that's why they were all called spinsters.
It used to be a positive thing, and then it turned into a negative thing, is what I've read. It was always and then it became this whole thing, you dirty, rotten spinster virgin.
Not a dick inside.
These standard these standards depicted respectable women as morally pure, delicate, and domestic, qualities that were difficult to uphold as a new educational and career opportunities became available to women. Remember, she was a Sunday school teacher too.
Oh, yes, of
She
course.
was, right into the
Loved by the children.
church. Totes. Some, like Lizzie and her sister Emma, found themselves navigating these evolving societal roles. It's interesting, though, that both Lizzie and her sister were
Sister.
spinsters still living at home with no dick.
That's what makes me think that there was influence from the father. He didn't want them having dick or,
That's why I didn't move them to the hill.
yeah, too much dick up there.
Maybe it was a bit of a grub.
Yeah. Oh, maybe.
Emma fit the mold of the stereotypical spinster, having promised her dying mother, not the one who was killed, the mother before the stepmother,
Yeah.
to care for her younger sister, Lizzie. While Lizzie wasn't a reformer, she was actively involved in religious and social activities, such as serving on the board of the Fall River Hospital and participating in the Christian Endeavour and temperance movements. Her prominence in these circles contributed to her image as a virtuous woman, which her supporters believed made her incapable of patricide. Love that word, patricide.
Yeah.
You probably heard it heaps in that the show that you were talking about, the Right
Yes.
Everyone, patricide.
Killing at the parents.
At the preliminary hearing, Borden's defense lawyer delivered a powerful closing argument that moved her supporters to applause.
Oh.
Nevertheless, the judge ruled that Lizzie was probably guilty and should remain in jail until her trial in state superior court. Despite the judge's ruling, the district attorney and the attorney general were hesitant to bring Borden to trial, even though they believed in her guilt. No evidence. The evidence against her was circumstantial at best, and her arrest had only strengthened her supporters' resolve. Nevertheless, the district attorney decided to present the case to a grand jury in November. Initially, it seemed like the jury would take no action, but that changed when Alice Russell, Lizzie's close friend and confidant, came forward with a critical piece of information. Russell testified that on the Sunday after the murders, she had witnessed Lizzie burn a dress in the kitchen stove.
Oh.
Bitch, please.
Fucking ratting out on the fucking... It's a suffragette movement time, you bitch.
She was obviously sleeping with her husband. The next day, the grand jury indicted Lizzie for murder. The trial preparations dragged on for months. Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to skip all that. Lizzie's appearance and demeanor in court also played a pivotal role in shaping the outcome. This is the next court case. In a legal environment dominated by men, she presented herself as the epitome of a frail, delicate Victorian woman dressed in black, epitome. She presented herself as the epitome of a frail, delicate Victorian woman dressed in black, tightly corseted, and holding flowers in one hand and a fan in the other.
Jesus,
she appeared anything but a murderous villain. I love that. Newspaper descriptions emphasized her modesty, contrasting her with the stereotype of a brawny, coarse woman capable of such violence.
Yeah, it is pretty fucking violent, though. That's the thing. Like, getting a fucking hatchet and doing that shit.
I know, right? The jury, which consisted mostly of rural farmers and tradesmen, saw Lizzie as a demure figure who simply didn't fit the image of a killer. So it worked in her favor, right? Even though they were like, no, she's not going to be like, it's not going to be a jury of her peers. But she dressed it like the part, and all the dudes were like, oh my God, she's just a little lady.
And it's interesting back then that people had the nous, and I know why wouldn't they? But had the nous of how to try and win over juries and shit like that by appearance.
And this is why I love these stories so much. It was like the one I did last week about the Red Barn, or when I did it a couple of weeks ago. It was like so construed, like this poor dude. In the end, he got
hung, drawn, and quartered.
I hope he was like totally guilty, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't.
And completely fucking body desecrated.
I know. Lizzie's wealth allowed her to afford an exceptional legal team, which included a former Massachusetts governor who had appointed one of the justices presiding over the trial. The justice's instructions to the jury were widely viewed as sympathetic to Lizzie, further undermining the prosecution's case. But they didn't really have a lot of evidence anyway. It was really public opinion. Ultimately, the jury acquitted Lizzie Borden in June 1893. You're about 10 then. Though the decision...
I do remember seeing it on the Pigeon as it flew past.
You didn't read it in the newspaper?
We couldn't
The
afford
Fall
the
River
newspaper back then.
Times. Though the decision was reached quickly, the jurors waited an hour before announcing it to avoid the appearance of rushing to a judgment. The courtroom erupted in cheers, as
Because
did
old mate,
much
they took
of the
half an hour,
press.
didn't they? The Red Barn one.
Oh,
Was it
yeah,
30
yeah.
minutes? 15.
As did much of the press and women's group who had supported Lizzie from the start. Despite her acquittal, Lizzie's poor life was forever altered. She and Emma moved to a grand Victorian house on the hill.
Oh my God, how terrible.
Shocking. But Lizzie remained a pariah, shunned by many in the community, including her former church. Oh, she didn't give a shit. She wanted to be on the hill anyway.
Yeah.
She became a curiosity, hounded by children in the streets and subjected to pranks. She was old as fuck anyway, you know.
I didn't know she got acquitted. I thought she got done for it.
In 1904, Lizzie and Emma had a falling out, and Emma left their home never to see her sister again.
Oh.
Lizzie lived out the remainder of her days in relative isolation, enjoying occasional trips to New York, Boston, and Washington, D.C.
Oh, Jesus. So she was okay. She wasn't dancing around the house in her mother's skin. She was actually okay.
She wanted her sister gone, man. Her sister was totally like in her ear all the time, like fucking, why'd you buy the house on the hill? You're spending too much money.
You haven't done the dishes. Where's Bridget?
Yeah, fuck off. She died in 1927, just 9 days before her sister, and was buried in the same plot as her mother and stepmother.
Oh.
So fine, whatever. Maybe Lizzie didn't do it. But if she didn't, who gave her mother 40 whacks, please?
Yeah.
And then, pray tell, who gave her father 41?
Fair in the face.
Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. It was actually 11, and her mother was 19. Stepmother was 19, yes. But still doesn't have the same ring to it.
No, but it's still interesting. Like, you wonder if it was a drifter in town, or you just want to know what actually happened.
Look, I feel like she lives such a sheltered life that it would be very hard for her to cover up all the evidence. But her best friend came out and was like, yeah, she burned her dress. But she would have seen that there was blood on it, right? It would have been fucking teeming with blood. It would have been, she would have had it in her hair, and they didn't have a shower back then. She would have had to go to the river.
Got a bucket with a sponge.
She would have been swimming underwater for ages trying to get that shit out of her hair.
That shit won't come out. I wash myself with a rag on a stick.
Like, I don't know. I feel like she was too sheltered to hide it. But also, who the fuck did it?
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
I know. It sounds like maybe someone who went to rob or something like that. But then if the father died an hour and a half afterwards too.
I know.
And it was in the face. It's quite personal.
Yeah.
What did he do for a living?
Textile. Oh, he made all his monies in textiles and banking and investments. And
maybe
he was
screwed someone over or something like that. And they're like, right, I'm going to get that fucker.
But what was she doing in the barn for like 2 hours?
Probably, well, she didn't have dick, so you know what I'm saying.
She was having some me time. Maggie had washed all the windows. She was having this. She's like, Maggie, you've done enough today. Go and have a nap. I'm going to the barn for a little bit.
Maybe Maggie and her were in the barn.
Maybe
doing some stuff, and that's why she's like, you just pretend you're asleep, Maggie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then ultimately they were like, it was like a love story. And yet they were like the innocent bystanders, and someone did do it, and that's why they didn't notice. Yeah. But again, I feel like, Maggie, wake up. Come on. Someone's being like beating the shit out of with an axe. Like,
yeah, and then an hour and a half later, someone else is. Maggie, you sleep too much, bitch.
Yeah. Also, I think if I washed all the windows, I'd probably pass out too. I'm like,
yeah.
Nothing can wake me.
Yeah. Unless Maggie did it because they caught them cavoodling, and they're like, we've got to kill them both now. The suffragettes won't even support us on this.
We'll never know. We will never know.
Ever. No. Unless there's some invention that you can sort of hold a
Go back
light
in
over something,
time.
and it just shows you what happened in the past. Interesting.
Yeah, time machine. Or a black light that goes back in time.
Time,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? But the house has been remodeled so many times now.
And there would have been a lot of other ghosts that have passed at that time too.
We'll put
Where
it on
is
the
it?
list.
Yeah.
I have started a list of all the places that will eventually go, Every
Oh,
time I see
good.
like a really cool place, that place with all the cats.
Yes. The place with the museum with the skin-bound book.
Oh yeah, we have to go. Oh, that's not even on the list yet. We have to put that on the list.
I added that as I've got the skin-bound book and his death mask as the promo in one of the promos.
Nice. And then this week it's also going to be
Skin-bound stuff. It's funny too, like, how we're saying, oh, we got ones with rhymes, but we also both did notorious killers for our tasks for our
Yeah, I
episode this
know.
week. Usually it could be some random thing or yeah.
When you started singing the songs at the end, I was like, oh my God.
I cannot believe he's doing.
You totally stole my fucking thunder.
Oh, that was good. Good old trip. Good one, old Lizzie Boards.
I do love the old schools. It's more
Yeah,
joking. We can joke more, can't we?
you
When the
can.
old school ones happen.
As I said, like obviously I knew about Lizzie Borden, but I didn't realize all the stuff that went on behind it and after it. I've never seen any movie about it or anything. I've just had the folklore
Look,
and the
I
and the
remember
rap.
watching that film with mum and being like, yuck, I'm out. After she made me sit down and watch it.
Gruel.
Yeah. She's like, no, just stay. It gets better.
Wait till you see the wax.
Yeah, I would have been probably like 7.
Fair
That's
enough.
how old I was.
That was me when I was watching Jaws, and I was like, why are they all screaming Sean?
Oh, I love Jaws so much.
Yeah,
It's one of my favorite movies.
we've done the revisit of all 4 of them.
Oh, when did you do that?
A year or so ago.
I don't think
Just
Tyler's seen any of them.
oh really?
Oh my
Yeah, good.
God.
And Jaws 2, I can't remember what that is. And then Jaws 3 is SeaWorld, and then Jaws 4 is The
Yes.
Revenge in the
The
Caribbean.
Revenge. Oh, they're also good. And even though like the special effects are terrible, I still feel terrified.
Yeah.
Like I still feel it. Like,
Yeah.
like am I
Dun-dun, dun-dun. It's not it's dun-dun, dun-dun,
And when they
dun-dun,
cut
dun-dun,
open the
dun.
shark and the mother slaps the cough across the face in the first one.
Yeah.
Remember that? And then the kids go out in the boat. Oh, fuck, I
Yeah.
love that.
Oh, the
I totally have.
catamaran.
Yeah, I have
That's
to make
Jaws 2, I think.
But even though the first one, they go out in the boat as well, remember?
Oh, that's a dad and the fisherman.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the second one's where their kids are out in the catamaran and Jaws is there and he's fucking topping over the catamaran. Then the helicopter comes down to save him and that goes down.
And that gets fucked up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. I'm going to totally make Tyler watch it.
You have to go when you go to America, obviously do Universal Studios and the Jaws ride, and it's fucking cool.
I've always wanted to do that. But is it still good? Like, is it still realistic? Like when you go on the Batman ride at Movie World now, because it's so old, it's so dated, and it's like,
I mean,
the roller coaster's still good.
It's still dated, I guess, but it's
a
not
nostalgia.
Yeah. And it's like it's still got that whole feel of the shark coming up next to the thing, and it's cool. It's very cool. Oh, thanks for listening, everyone. We hope you enjoyed our musical, creative true crimes.
Try and bring a different taste to it.
A little spin. Join us next week for pop culture. Oh, very good. Well, no, that was good. I like that episode. Thanks, stupid bitch.
No, me too. All right, I love you.
And well, don't forget everyone to like, share, subscribe, follow, tell your mates, promote. Oh, look, she's down and out. Did you do a bottle in that app?
I did do a bottle. Well, I've got almost a bottle. I've got my last glass, which is
still got the glass, yeah.
Oh no, I spilt it a little bit. Normally I lick it, and now it's like all red wine on my white table.
You dumb bitch.
You dumb bitch.
Good night, you stupid bitches.
Good night.
Yeah, that stupid bitch. He's a stupid bitch. What a stupid bitch. That stupid bitch.